kind of had that in with people to go and hang out with them. And it was really cool to see how God turned something not so good, like brick factories, into opportunities. We rarely spoke to a family or a person in a brick factory that we didn't end up sharing the gospel with. They were all really open to it, and like we would just go and talk to them, and BJ would help them make bricks and kind of introduce ourselves, and they usually wanted to know why we were there, and then that pretty much always led to us being able to share the gospel with them or pray with them. So yeah, that was cool to see how God uses things like that are not really, brick factories aren't really a good thing, but He's really turned those into huge opportunity. And I know like the church that we worked with there, they're constantly doing outreach to brick factories and just going and talking to people and praying with people and doing stuff like that. And so that was just cool to see how God uses those. And we got to share with a lot of people who had never even heard of Jesus, which kind of blew my mind. Like you hear that there's people that have never heard of Jesus, but to actually meet someone who had never heard of Jesus, that was crazy, and it was a big wake-up call. So it was cool to be able to share the gospel with those people, and it was kind of an honor, I felt like, to be able to share the gospel with them and tell them about Jesus. And I just think it's really amazing that we get to do that, and that God has entrusted us with sharing the gospel and spreading His love around the world. And yeah, that was cool. We did a lot of children and youth ministries with the church that we worked with. At least once a week we did children's ministry, and once a week we did youth group. So the top left-hand corner there is just kind of sort of like Kids Club, I guess. It's just their children's ministry that they do once a week, and they just go out to this open field, and the kids from the church come, and leaders from the church come, and then they're just in the middle of town in this field, so all these kids end up coming, and you just get to play with them and do some music and tell them a Bible story, tell them about Jesus. And so that was good. And the bottom left-hand corner there is one that we did at a brick factory. Actually, we just walked around and told people to send us their kids, and they did. And we just played with them for a couple hours, played some games and sang some songs, and got to tell them some Bible stories too. So that was really cool. This is just a couple pictures of a youth conference that we got to be involved with planning and speaking. Rajendra from the church planning team comes up with all these ideas and things he wants to do, and this was one of them. He just told us like a week ahead of time that we were planning this youth conference and we were going to speak on revival, and so we did, and it was really good. Lots of youth from all over Nepal came, and it was just a really good time of fellowship and just encouraging them, and yeah, it was really good. And it was just cool to see the way that God is raising up leaders from the youth in Nepal. They're all really passionate about Jesus and about ministry and all of those kind of things, so that's good. We got to visit several temples in Nepal and do some intercession. This one is a Hindu fertility temple. It was on top of a mountain, and it was a lot of stairs to climb. But yeah, it's a Hindu fertility temple, so women go up there to pray to these gods if they want to have children. So we just got to go up there and walk around and pray over it, and it was really eye-opening, and it was really heartbreaking to see how Satan has used something like women's natural desire to have children to twist that into, like, to use it against them, really, and just how he's twisted it. So Hinduism is the main religion in Nepal. There's a lot of Buddhism as well, but it's mainly Hinduism, and there are a lot of strongholds for that, so definitely keep that in your prayers. And this is the one in the middle is from a Hindu temple, but on the right that's a giant statue of Buddha, and on the left those are prayer flags from a Buddhist monastery that we got to visit in Jiri, so and just pray over that as well. So that was really eye-opening. the 3 weeks that we weren't in Godavari, we were at a children's home in Jiri, which is a little mountain village. It's actually one of the last stops on the way to Mount Everest. So we didn't see Mount Everest, but we were close to it, so that was kind of cool. There were 10 kids when we were there. Now they have 2 more, so they have 12, and they opened up 2 years ago. And while we were there, we got to do devotions with kids in the mornings, so they wanted us to talk about Jesus. So we started at the Christmas story, Jesus' birth, and just worked our way through his life, and our last devotion with them was the Easter story. And we got to teach them some English worship songs and do stuff like that with them for devotions in the morning, and then we helped them with their homework after school and just did chores around the orphanage. These are some of the staff there. They're really cool. The ladies on the bottom right hand side taught us how to knit while we were there. We knit toques, so that was fun. Yeah, these are just some of the chores we got to do while we were there. We got to paint and plow a field and help with laundry and cleaning and stuff like that. And then that building is the church building in Jiri, and the pastors live on the bottom level, the pastor and his family, and then the church is on the top level.
What's the feet thing?
The what? Oh, that's how they wash their laundry.
Oh!
It's all, well, they actually, most people don't have washing machines in Nepal, but the orphanage actually does, but the kids get so dirty that they have to do that first, or else it'll wreck the laundry machine, because there's so much dirt on all their clothes, so. When we got back from Jiri, we went back to Godavari where we started off, and we had 7 weeks left there, I think. So we got to teach an English class in the evening. We still did a lot of the same stuff through the day, but from 4:30 to 6-ish, we taught an English class. It was just in the room of one of the people at the church. They let us use their house, so, and kids just came, and we were supposed to get a curriculum sent to us, but that never happened, so we kind of had to come up with our own curriculum. But kind of our main focus of the class was not so much to teach English, but to be able to witness to our students. So we did teach them English, but we got to use lots of Bible stories and things like that for examples, and just build relationships with the kids and witness to them that way. So that was really cool. But we had probably half our students were from the church and half were from mostly Hindu families. So that was a really good opportunity to reach out to people, and it was cool to see the kids from the church build relationships with the kids from Hindu families, and I know that we'll see fruit from that in the future, so that was really cool. There's 2 Hindu girls in that picture on the bottom left. Anita is in the red, and then the girls on each side of her are both from Hindu families, and they were probably our most dedicated students. And some days we would just teach a short lesson plan, and then we would tell a couple of Bible stories and ask them questions about it afterwards to see how much they were picking up and how much English they understood and how much they were actually learning. So, and those 2 girls would sit right in front and just so completely focus on these Bible stories. So it was awesome to just be able to talk about Jesus with them and tell them about God, and they were so focused on it and so interested. So that was really cool. And then we had a party for just a wind up on our last week there. And we got to share the gospel with all of them, and they showed the Jesus film, and those books that they're holding are Nepali and English Bibles, which was our gift to them at the end, so they all have Bibles now. So yeah, that was just a really good opportunity to reach out to the community, especially the youth of the community. These are all just random pictures of people that we encountered on our trip. The big picture on the left there has kind of an interesting story behind it. The man there, he showed up at a house fellowship in Godavari one time, and he had had surgery, and they had hit a nerve or something, and he was mostly paralyzed. He couldn't walk, he couldn't really talk, and he couldn't move the whole right side of his body. He could only move the left side of his body a little bit, and I'm not sure exactly what his story was. His grandpa, I believe, was a witch doctor, and so was his father, and he had promised Satan that he was going to sacrifice this chicken to him, and somehow, I don't really know how, he ended up not sacrificing the chicken and coming to house fellowship instead. And I don't really know how that happened, but he ended up there, and he ended up accepting Christ, and he had a lot of spiritual warfare going on. Like when we were worshiping and praying, he was just being tormented, basically. Like he was just in agony with these demons tormenting him, and so we were able to pray for him and just kind of get to know him, and that was really cool. And then the next week we went back, and he was moving. He was a little bit more mobile. He was walking a little bit, and then he went back to his village, which is where this picture was taken. We didn't see him for a few weeks, but we went out to visit him, and when we got there, he was walking on his own, and he was talking, and he still has troubles with, you can see he's kind of holding his right hand there. He has troubles with that, but he's pretty much completely mobile, and he's not being tormented anymore. And we got to have just a house fellowship with them as well. The rest of his family weren't Christian, but and I got to speak at that one, so I spoke about just Jesus' miracles and healings, and kind of used that, like his own life as an example for that. And then we all shared stories of times we had seen Jesus work, and at the end the lady said something, and Gender translated and said, okay, the whole family wants to come to Christ now. So we got to pray with all of them, and they all came to Christ that day, and that was really cool, and like just a huge turnaround for that family. So it was awesome to be involved with that. And then the lady in the middle there is just a Hindu lady that we would walk past every day. She would just be sitting in the field watching her cow eat grass, and we would walk past her every day and say namaste to her, and she would smile at us. And then one day I just decided to stop and talk to her. Well, to talk to her. We didn't speak much Nepali. We spoke a little bit, and she didn't speak any English. And I think she was mostly deaf anyways, but we did kind of get to communicate a little bit, and then after that we would stop every once in a while and just sit with her, and she would chatter away, and I would try to tell her I didn't know what she was saying, and we would just kind of laugh and have a good time, and got to give her a tract. And yeah, it was just cool to hang out with her and kind of get to know her. And most people in Nepal, if they see a white person, they know you're either a tourist or a Christian. So I'm pretty sure after she saw us every day for 3 months, she probably assumed that we were Christian, and she still was good with hanging out with us. So that was cool just to be able to spend time with her. And then the person on the bottom there, that's me and my teammate Rebecca, and in the middle is a guy we met during our week off in Kathmandu. We were souvenir shopping, and we went into his shop one day, and he was really, really nice, and we didn't buy anything that day, but we told him we would be back, and we did go back, and he was so excited to see us, and we actually ended up spending a lot of time with him that week, and God just used us to really impact him in a big way. He would ask us, he wanted to know if we were missionaries, which technically we weren't. We couldn't say we were missionaries because we were on tourist visas. So, but we told him that we were Christians and that we were just visiting Nepal and learning the culture, and he had lots of questions, and he was kind of going through a hard time in his life, and he would just talk to us about all these things he was dealing with and ask for advice, and we just would tell him that he could pray about it, and that it's not like Hinduism, he didn't have to go to a temple or do anything fancy. He could just pray about it and just talk to God about his troubles and his concerns. And we didn't have anything big and profound to say, but every time we said anything to him, it was like we just had shared these great words of wisdom, and he was so funny. He would tell us things like, oh, I think when you walked into my shop, 2 angels walked into my shop, and just things like that. And it was just really cool too, how God used us to impact him in such a huge way. And yeah, we got to just pray with him quite a few times and talk to him about God and kind of share the gospel with him, so that was really cool as well. And these are just some pictures of the scenery in Nepal, because it's really beautiful. You can see that one on the bottom left was the view from the roof of our house. You can see the Himalayas up in the corner there. You can always see them because Kathmandu is that direction, and lots of times they were covered by smog, but if that kind of cleared off, you could see the Himalayas, and it's just a really beautiful country. I have one more thing that I want to do at the end, but first I'll just ask if anyone has any questions.
Can you explain your outfit?
This is not a sari. It's called a kurta sharel, and it's what the women wear in Nepal. So we wore it pretty much all the time. We were allowed to wear our regular clothes, but we were just generally received better if we were wearing these clothes. I think it showed them that we were trying to respect their culture and trying to fit in. And their dress they're pretty strict about modesty and stuff like that. But you can kind of see the younger generations that's changing, and they're starting to dress more like us, which isn't really a good thing, I don't think, and I didn't want to be a part of that, so we wore these pretty much every day. You can wear the shirt without the pants, but if you wear the shirt, you have to wear the scarf, and you can't wear the pants without the shirt. So you just pretty much have to wear everything all together, but it's very breathable and comfortable, and they really appreciated that we wore them. So.
Is it quite a poor country?
Pardon?
Is it quite a poor country?
Quite a poor country? Yeah, they have a big tourist industry with Mount Everest and with the Himalayas, but it is a fairly poor country. I was actually surprised at first by how nice it was. I guess I was expecting it to be more like Haiti. I think they are better off than Haiti, but it is a poor country. They don't make much money, and the price of living is actually still quite high, especially sending your kids to school is very, very expensive compared to what they make, so.
Yeah. And they're open to the gospel?
Well, Nepal, they have a history of Christian persecution, and right now it's not too bad, but they're in the process of writing a new constitution, so it really depends on how that goes. There's a lot of people that would like Nepal to be a Hindu nation, so it really depends on how the constitution ends up. And
do you feel from the Hindus and those other religions, do you feel a dislike to?
Pardon?
Do you feel a dislike to Christianity?
Yeah. There's not much unity between religions. But the Buddhists are quite peaceful, and the Buddhists are more peaceful, but the Hindus are very passionately against Christianity, so Anyone else?
They're planting a church, meaning?
They're not planning a specific church right now. It's more with their house fellowships. They are constantly planning new house fellowships, and they're trying to spread into a bigger and bigger area. And then from those, as the house fellowships grow, they would like to be able to plant churches. And
How is the food? Do you like the food?
They eat a lot of rice. We ate rice for 2 meals every day, so
That's good.
yeah, that's their main thing is dal bhat, they call it, which is just rice with lentils, basically, is what they eat.
Reg, I don't know if you like that very much.
All that rice?
Rice.
Not good for you.
So with the YWAM DTS, they were getting you ready for this trip? So your team, you showed up, and then you met your team, and you were all going to be going to the same
Yeah.
location?
Yeah, we all met in Saskatoon, and so we were in Saskatoon from September to the end of December, and in the mornings we took classes with the Bible College, and then in the afternoon we had class with the four of us doing YWAM training.
Describe that training a little bit. What were they trying to train?
Well, we learned about a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like once a week we would do intercession. Like we started out the first couple weeks, we learned about intercession and evangelism and things like that, and then we would, after that, once a week, we would do those kind of things, and we would have different sessions. Like most DTSs would have live speakers coming because most of them are bigger, but because we were just a school of 2 students, we pretty much mostly just watched videos of different speakers that everyone else would be seeing live. So, but we learned about different things like 1 week we did the Father Heart of God and just different things like that. So, and different training for we didn't know until probably the beginning of December where we were going. Actually, that was kind of a big mix-up because the options were Pakistan or Nepal, and then our base leader actually ended up getting diagnosed with cancer in the beginning of November, so things kind of got changed around then, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen, but we ended up going anyways and going to Nepal. So.
What was one thing that your training was really helpful when you got actually over to Nepal?
Probably intercession was super helpful, just because it wasn't like I hadn't really known that much about it before. I mean, it's just praying basically, but it's praying in a different way, I guess, and for a specific purpose. And we ended up doing a lot of that. Like some days, probably once a week, we would go to a temple, or we would just climb one of the mountains around the village and look over the village and intercede for the village. And once a week, we would have a 6-hour prayer meeting at the church, doing intercession for Nepal and for just the church and the writing of the Constitution and stuff like that. So,
how would you, partly because we have the younger crowd too, how would you describe that word intercession? Like, what do you mean? What are you saying?
Basically, just praying over a specific situation, I guess, for a specific purpose. Like when we were in Saskatoon, we would just, before we did it, we would like open up a news app and see what was going on in the world, and whether it was a natural disaster or anything like that, we would just pick one thing and then specifically spend an hour just going around and praying for that specific situation and praying for God to intercede and work in that situation.
Were the dogs friendly?
The dogs, they were sometimes too friendly.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, there's probably as many dogs as there are people in Nepal. And I really love dogs, and I wasn't allowed to pet them because they carry so many diseases.
Yeah.
So that was sad. There were lots of puppies that I wanted to bring home in my suitcase, but no one would let me. So.
And not one picture.
Pardon?
And not one picture.
I have some pictures of puppies. I just didn't put them on there.
But you know, some places the dog kind of friendly. Like go over here to Sioux Valley and the dog kind of friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So they differ from one place to the other, don't they?
Yeah. If no one has any more questions, the last thing I wanted to do was a couple weeks ago I got an email from the guy that kind of started the orphanage in Jiri, so I just want to read it to you guys, and then I'd like to pray about it actually. So it just says, "Dear friends and family, greetings from Nepal. How are you all doing? I just want to share a prayer request for Nepal. Nepal is in the constitution making process now. They're going to write a new constitution, and as you know, one of the big Hindu parties won the election in India recently and have been trying to force Nepal to become a Hindu nation. And there's much more Hindu extremists are coming against the true God and faith. Only yesterday, 8 pastors and leaders were arrested by police because they were baptizing some new believers in a river in Kathmandu. And one of the church children home is shut down, and pastor and his wife is arrested, according to today's news. It seems like the persecution is starting again, but we believe in the power of prayer, and the Lord will change curses to blessings. Please keep on praying. The Lord grant wisdom and knowledge for all the Christian in Nepal, and God will change the heart of the persecutor. So, yeah, and he didn't mention this email, but he mentioned in another email that like the orphanage that we worked with in Jiri is run by Christians, and so obviously they're teaching kids about God, and they want the kids to grow into men and women of God, but the government is coming down more firmly. They've told them that they can't teach the kids about God, and they can't they can't raise them as Christians, and they can't take them to church and things like that. So there's definitely a really big battle over Nepal, and God is doing amazing things there, and we saw a lot of really amazing things and heard lots of stories of what he's doing there. And yeah, so there's a big battle there because Satan has had a pretty strong foothold there for a long time, and he still does, and I know that God's going to be victorious, but Satan doesn't want to go down without a fight, so definitely need to keep them in our prayers. So if we could take just a couple minutes to pray for them. Dinesh mentioned some prayer points in his email, but I just have a couple here. Just pray for strength, peace, and wisdom for believers, the continued growth of the church, change of heart for the persecutors, unity between religions, and a constitution that is in favor of Christianity, not against it. So I was actually hoping we could pray Nepali style, which just means we all pray out loud at the same time, and then when everyone kind of is finished, I can close.
It's also called Korean style.
Okay. Maybe it's Asian style. It's probably not just Nepal, but yeah, so if we can just all pray together, and then when everyone's finished,
It works if everybody prays.
yeah, if nobody prays.
It's really
just
awkward if you're the only one who's playing along. Don't listen to your neighbor.
Okay.
So God, I pray for people in Nepal as well, that you would see for the Constitution. I would just come up against the Constitution right now to say no racism, propaganda, no anti-propaganda, or something that the government workers who are going around promoting the that you actually have you would actually change their hearts, that they would turn blind eyes to your turn the hearts of those that they are not actually pushing down. You would actually change these ways. And then your church planning movement, you did persecution actually open up more hearts, more minds, more spirits to be able to see and have the churches find their God. Thank you for doing all these things and exalting in Jesus Christ.
God, thank you for all the amazing things you're doing in Nepal, and just for the servants that you've raised up there, God, and just for their passion and their love for serving you, God. I pray that your hand of protection would be over them, Father, and that you would just fill them with peace, and they wouldn't lose their passion for serving God, but that they would continue to be passionate, and that they would be just filled with love for their persecutors, and with joy for building your kingdom in Nepal. God, I pray that you would just work in the hearts of the persecutors, God, and you would just soften their hearts, and you would just help them to realize that there can be unity among the religions, God, and ultimately we want them to come to know you and to be one religion, God, but I pray that you would just show them that they don't have to fight and they don't have to just be at war with one another, but that there can be unity between them. God, I just pray that you would continue to work in Nepal and continue to build your kingdom there. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So that's it.
Good. Well, have a good day.
Can I just unplug this?
Yeah.
Yes.
You plan to go back Kathryn Sunday?
I'd like to go back, yeah. I want to spend some more time in Haiti first. I still feel more called to Haiti. I really like Nepal, and there were lots of things about Nepal that it was easier to live there than in Haiti, but I still feel that Haiti's more on my heart, so I think I'll spend the majority of my time in Haiti, but I do definitely want to go back to visit, and I definitely feel like God used us there, so I'd like to go back at some point. And to see our Nepali family.
What's your fall plans? What's your next year look like?
I'm going back to Saskatoon for one more year. I graduated from the DTS, but decided to transfer with Horizon into their 2-year program, so I'm going back to the Bible College for 1 year.
Oh, so you're not doing DTS, you're doing Horizon.
Yeah, so it'll just be with Horizon. It's not connected with YWAM this year.
Cool.
Is there any horses up there?
Pardon?
Is there many horses over in Nepal?
Yeah, there's a few. They use a lot of horses in the brick factories to
And
haul
do
bricks
they-
back and forth.
They have a lot of cars up there too.
Yeah, they have quite a few cars. Lots of people have motorcycles.
Oh,
Their roads aren't very good, and they have their main roads, but to get other places, it's more of a trail. So
correct.
motorcycles and walking, a lot of walking. So
All
Ooh. Now what do you guys want to do?
One more song? There you go.
Sure. Yeah, why not? Why not?
Do you have a favorite song, Kathryn, from Nepal, or that you guys, it's on your mind while you were there?
most of their songs, they did sing some English songs, but most of them were in Nepali.
Oh, sure,
I
yeah.
don't really know them.
But there is one circling through your head.
Take the collection.
I'd like to now send the offering around.
I'm glad to get paid.
Oh, yeah, birthdays. Maybe you sing one
Good call.
birthday too?
Good call.
One.
Anniversary.